the Florida Writer Podcast, a discussion about writing and other things.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Alison Nissen. And today I am lucky enough to be joined by Kerry Evelyn. Kerry, could you give us a 60-second elevator pitch about who you are and what you write?
Hi, Allison. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I am a mostly stay-at-home mom in Orlando. I'm a former educator, and my kids, they're in middle school and high school. So I've had a lot of time now where their doors are shut, and I'm writing, and it's super fun. I write small town romance, sweet, happily ever afters, and recently I have delved into some nonfiction, and I just published a book called The Believer's Journal for Everyday Faith, and it's a daily check-in where you can just check in with who you are and your spiritual process and grow as a person, as well as all that stuff. We'll talk more about that.
Tell me a little bit about how you began writing.
So I've always been a writer, and you probably hear that from a lot of people who have published, but as a kid, my grandfather would not accept homemade gifts. And so every year we had to get creative, and writing stories was the easiest thing for me. You know, some of my cousins would build him things with Legos, or, my sister would draw pictures. I like to write stories and poems, and that's how I got started. And by the time I got to high school, I was writing for my school newspaper. I was an elementary school teacher, so I would write stories for the kids because my stories about Pokemon and American Girl were way more excited than the ones in the textbook. And I always thought I'd write children's books. But in 2015, I was challenged to write a book, and the book that came out was not a children's book. It was a sweet, small town romance with an inspiring story about two people who fall in love as they get through PTSD and some traumatic events that they'd experienced. And once I finished, I checked the box. I wrote a book, and I thought I was done. And people were like, no, when's the next one? And so I haven't stopped. And come this December will be 4 years, and 9 or 10 fiction books, over a dozen short stories, and 3 nonfiction publications.
So is sweet a genre, or is it a subgenre?
Sweet romance is a genre. It implies that there are no detailed kissing, graphic-y bedroom scenes. So it's kind of like a Hallmark movie, but they don't wait till the end of the book to smooch. It's just it's often described with clean and wholesome, but there's different levels of clean and wholesome. And like your level 1 would be like maybe a kiss at the end of the book, whereas level 3 is they're smooching pretty heavily. They might have shared living quarters. They might cuddle. And so I'm more in that level 3 where it's more PG-13. So, but it's all sweet. So and sweet it was a search term on Amazon, and that's what the readers look for. So it's become a subgenre.
That's really interesting. I actually didn't know that, and I love learning new things about the writing.
Yeah, the opposite is steamy. So steamy and sweet are you'll know what you're getting if a title or a subtitle says one or the other.
So we have sweet, and then we have sweet level 1, 2, 3, and then we go up to steamy. Is that about?
Yes, yes. And in there somewhere is clean and wholesome, which is sweet level 1 or 2, depending on whose scale you're looking at.
Oh, that's great. I love how the audience helps to decide where the book is going to fall, what category it's going to be.
Yeah.
Have you had some Amazon reviews that have encourage you to continue writing?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Those are the ones that keep me going. My first book has received, around 60 reviews, and they're like Christmas presents, reading reviews. They're all good. And even the ones that have some criticism in there, they help me become better as a writer. So if you're going to leave a 3 or anything lower than that, I knock on wood, I haven't got lower than a 3. But if you're going to leave something that's a 3 or lower and you don't tell me why, I don't know what to fix. So, but if you leave me some really good feedback, the first person who gave me a 3 gave me a 3 because the book wasn't steamy enough. And the blurb indicated a more suspenseful kind of steamy book. And so I changed the blurb because that was super helpful, because now I know that when people buy this book, they know what they're going to get. So I added a subtitle and I reworked the blurb. So that was helpful. But someone who just leaves a 1 or a 2, that book wasn't for them. So that's okay that you left a 1 or a 2. But if this is your genre that you like to read, please tell me why it's not measuring up to the other ones that you like. But the 5s, the 5s.
The 5s are like little Christmas presents.
They are, and the 4s too, because to get a 4, it's a good book. They weren't struggling to read it, so that's always good, right?
Well, and when they take the time to write a review, that really means something.
Yeah, they've already given you 5 hours of their time. Now here's something else they're doing that's super thoughtful, and readers don't understand how much that helps authors, not just in the algorithms, but as writers and for their confidence. It really makes a huge impact.
Kerry, I love that you are sharing this information. Now you've switched into writing a journal.
Yeah.
All right. Give me details. How do you write a journal? How do you get started writing a journal? What made you get the idea to write a journal?
All right. So I have always had an idea in the back of my head. I've made worksheets for my kids. We do a Christian homeschool hybrid program. And so Bible has always been a part of their curriculum. And through the worksheets that I've made and just the daily, if you're not doing something every day, it's not really a habit. And I find that I am at my best self when I take some time each day to just sit still, pray a bit, check in with my goals and what I want to do, and just have a conversation with myself. I like to think that, I'm talking to the universe and God and all these things I can't see out there that are helping to form. I mean, it sounds a little woo-woo, but when you voice something out loud, the science is your brain hears it. Your brain hears your voice and listens to it more than any other sound in the world. So by saying something out loud, it's really making an impact. And I go one step further and I want to journal that. And when you check in with yourself in the morning and before you go to bed, this is what I want to do today. This is how today went. It helps you focus better. It helps you create more intentional days. It helps you design your next day. And so in helping the kids do that over the last few years and having conversations with friends who have felt disconnected from their faith, I thought, wow, if I could write something, that would help you daily, like just do it, get plugged in more. I want to do that. And so the idea went around in my head for years. And then Ariel Hoy from Orange Blossom Publishing contacted me. She was doing a series of journals during the pandemic, a teacher's one, a nurse one, just to try to help people with their mental health and keep them plugged into what was important, why they were doing it, and journaling their experience. And she said, I want to do a spiritual journal. Would you want to do that for me? And there it was. There was the opportunity for me to collect all my thoughts and all the things and put it in one place and have someone make beautiful graphics and package it up into an amazing product that people are loving.
I love that you have written a journal and that you have decided that people can take the opportunity to reflect on their day, how they want it to go, and then they can reflect on how it went and maybe imagine what they might want to get done tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose of it's divided into 12 sections, one for each month. And one of the sections is design your day. Run your day. Don't let your day run you. If you know what you need to get done or what you want to do on a specific day, you're more likely to stay focused and get those things done than just let things happen. And once you're more intentional with that, you start to notice a big change in your production. And that's how I've been able to write so much in the last 4 or 5 years and still homeschool my kids full time and drive them everywhere and all these other things I'm involved with. I'm also a sorority advisor and a mom mentor and all these other little things that pull time for me. But I know each day what I'm going to do and how much margin I have built in so that if something does come up, I have time to absorb it.
Let's talk about margin. How do you come up with the margin for each activity?
My general rule is it's going to take twice as long as I plan for it. so that's been working for me. I get caught chatting. I'll be picking up the kids, and pickup is at 12. We leave at 12:30. So I plan for 15 minutes. It takes 30. And usually that works. Sometimes I don't need as much time, and that's when I have bonus time, and that is when I have my phone notes app out and I'm working on something that I'm stuck on, or I'm editing a chapter for a friend. I always have an extra project with me so that I can do that if I have a space of time that I would otherwise just be sitting there scrolling Facebook or binging Netflix. So building in the margin and recognizing when you have margin, if you're not expecting it, is really key to designing that, to help design that day to be more productive and more intentional.
Let's focus on writers. If a writer were going to design their day, what would you say is the most important part of putting, what's the most important thing they ought to put into the day they want to design? And I'm assuming a lot of our listeners might be retired. A lot of our listeners might work full time. So let's just talk about the writer in general.
Well, it depends on the writer. Some writers write fast. They can type words like they can talk. Other writers need to plan. And other writers may not be writing, they may be marketing. So I use a block schedule. I have certain blocks each day and each week. It's different every day because my schedule is different every day. And I try to create 1 or 2 goals for each of those blocks. So for example, yesterday, I'm the study hall monitor at my kids' school, and I have a whole list of things to do. But between 8 and 3:30, I don't know how much time I'm actually going to have to work on the stuff. So I plan about 4 hours worth of work. And my number one goal yesterday was to get through the edits for my next book, Cruising on Ice, from one of my critique partners. And that was the main goal. If I got that done, I would be happy. If I got to plan out and work on the character bio for the book after that, I would be really, really happy. And if I got to check all my email, that was bonus. So I had 3 goals for that one block, which was, I don't know, 8:30 to 3:30 is with kids. It's probably about 6 to 7 hours that I could work, but I planned for about 4 hours worth of time. And of course, then I have my critique group messaging me back and forth, and I have emails I have to answer. And then we got Chick-fil-A lunch at school, and all these little things just interrupt. And so if I had not built in extra time, and it just, I would feel that I was not succeeding in it if I had tried to plan to do too much in that span. So depending on the writer, if you're retired, when is your best time to write? Are you better in the morning, mid-afternoon, late at night? What's your sleep schedule like? Are you a night owl or a morning person? So find the time when you're most productive with your words and build everything else around that if you have the ability to do that. And I don't write words every day. I can't. I write when I am inspired to. So I have a lot of notes in my phone. I have notes about scenes that I'm going to write. I plan and plot. And then I sit down, and sometimes I stare at my keyboard. And if that's happening, I switch to a different project. And I have my projects planned out so I can do that. And whichever one is calling to me is the one that I keep going with. Because if my brain is going and my fingers are going, I'm not wasting time.
All right. I like the idea of your brain's going, your fingers are going, you're doing great, because I feel like yesterday I sat down, I got 3 sentences done, and I was like, and then I was drawn to research.
Yeah, the rabbit hole of research, my favorite. I spent an hour last night looking up ing words for a title that I'm working on. Can't get the right title, but I know it ends in ing.
Oh my gosh, yes, those little black holes, they're horrible. Right?
Uh-huh.
Tell me about the flow of the journal. Does it ask the same questions every month, or do you have different blocks of questions? Is there one per day?
So every month is a different topic. So for example, the first month, we are creating a vision for our life. So there's a couple focus questions at the beginning. I ask readers to think back when you were younger and write a few sentences detailing how you pictured your life would be up to this point. So that's right off the bat. It's like, whoa, am I where I want to be? You have to be honest with yourself and say yes or no. And then the next question is take a moment to express gratitude for the life you're living now. What's great about it? And where does it fall short of the plans you had? And again, they have to be honest with themselves and write that down. So from there, we pick four Bible verses for the month, one for each week. And they're just going to sit and meditate on those each week and how that applies to their life and how they want their life to be. And each week they'll pick a focus. So for example, week 1, the verses, and the Lord answered me, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he who may run who reads it. For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. So there's some free space after that to just figure out what your vision is. And this could be a vision about your writing life. It could be a vision about your family life. It could be just everything all together. What are you focusing on? So week 1 is my focus for this week. I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to be on my phone less. I want to find more writing time. I want to volunteer at church. Whatever your focus is, and then you write a focus statement. So once you identify the focus, you're going to write the statement. And then you have each day, there are four boxes in the morning and 4 boxes at night to just jot some notes in. So in the morning, you have a prayer for today, what you're giving to God to handle. So, it's kind of like that. This isn't my monkeys and it's not my circus kind of thing. Like I can't handle this. I'm giving it away. I'm not dealing with this. It's not mine. Distractions to be aware of, that relative who calls you 6 times a day, who, if you pick up the phone, it's going to suck an hour of your time. Do you have that time that day? And something you're grateful for. And by doing that in the morning before you get your day started and at night before you go to bed, you'll start to see a pattern. You'll start to see things that will repeat. And when you can identify that pattern, it helps you narrow your focus again so that your vision for the year and for whatever time frame you want to create starts to become clearer. And I ask at the beginning that everyone pick a word to focus on throughout the whole book. So one year, my word was clarity. I wanted clarity. What am I supposed to do? Another word was refine. This year, that is my word. I am trying to refine everything, every aspect of my life. I want to be more intentional. So I need to pare down those things that I don't really need to spend a lot of time on to get to where I want to be. And if it doesn't have anything to do with my goals or my family's goals, it's a no. It's an easy no, because by saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So when someone asks you to volunteer for something, that sounds fun. I would love to do that. But is it in line with your current goals? Is it in line with the time that you have? Is it in line with all these other things? Otherwise, you're going to have to make sacrifices for things that you might want to do. This is another way to build in margin. If it's not a heck yes, it's a no. And so I've been getting much better at doing that lately. And it's a process. It takes years to be able to learn how to say no, but I put it through those filters now, and it's actually getting easier.
Kerry Evelyn, this has been such a great conversation. How can people get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is to find me on Facebook. You can find me at Kerry Evelyn Author. I also have a reader group. It's the Cranes Cove Crew. Just spell it out, Cranes Cove Crew, and you can join. And I spend more time there than anywhere else. You can find me on Instagram. You can email me, kerry@kerryevelyn.com. I'm not on Twitter much. I don't check my Twitter. So a lot of authors live on Twitter, but it just gives me anxiety. So Facebook, Instagram, that's the way to get to me. I try to check my email every day. It doesn't always happen. But if you have a punchy subject line like, hey, I heard you on the podcast, and be like, oh, let me open that. It doesn't blend in with all the other emails that I get that aren't as fun.
Are you ready to switch to our rapid fire questions?
Oh, sure.
I think the ones I've written out already are going to be right in line with what you've already been talking about. Number 1, how do you spend time without electronics?
I'm a crafter. I love to put stuff together. Currently, I'm making bookmarks. I'm adding charms and ribbons to bookmarks. And I started a do-it-yourself mini house project, which isn't going very well because I don't really have the fine motor skills to not get glue over everything. And I also love spending time with my family. We have SeaWorld passes. And sometimes I forget I even have my phone when we're at SeaWorld. I'm a Disney freak too, but we haven't been there in a while. So hopefully that's coming soon. I asked for passes for Christmas. Maybe Santa will bring them.
Maybe Santa will answer that one.
Yeah.
What was the last meal you cooked homemade?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I don't cook much. It was okay. Last week I made spaghetti and meatballs. I think it was last week. It could have been the week before. Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I really love frozen meals. My husband is the cook, so he makes me breakfast when he's home. It's so nice. And my kids don't eat what I make, so my daughter makes her own stuff, and my son lives on peanut butter and cereal and pizza. So
if we could put all those in a blender, that'd be great, right?
Right?
Peanut butter, cereal, and pizza. Yum. All right. Finally, I have a horrible thunderstorm outside my window. What is the weather outside your window?
It's super sunny in Orlando, at least my part of Orlando. We're probably getting rain today, but right now the sky is a beautiful blue and the sun is shining on my face. Can you see it? I forget it's not a video interview. It is beautiful here.
Kerry Evelyn, this has been such a fun experience. Thank you for stopping by.
Thanks so much for having me.
You have been listening to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Alison Nissen. Alison out. Boo! We're all done. Kerry Evelyn is the author of the Cranes Cove series, a sweet resort romance set in coastal Maine, and the guest author for the Cat's Paws Cove series. Her newest release, The Believer's Journal for Everyday Faith, is available wherever books are sold. For more information about Kerry Evelyn, visit her on social media at Kerry Evelyn Author or online at kerryevelyn.com. For more information about the Florida Writers Association, visit us at floridawriters.org.